All right, let's build our voice agent. Voice agents are some of the most magical, especially once you're talking to the agent and starts doing things. They feel a little bit different compared to just interacting on your screen. So really excited to show you guys this one. First step, as always, when we're building a new agent, as I'm sure you all know by now, let's rename our agent. So I'm going to rename this guy inbound phone call agent. And my main goal here is I'm just going to create like an inbound almost support phone agent that answers questions. And if it doesn't know the answer, it's just going to let it know, say, I don't know. So for my trigger here, I'm actually going to do is click on this trigger, and we're going to go navigate to Buy Lindy. You should see Lindy phone right up there. Super easy and simple. Call received. So this is going to trigger an event when the call is received. And on the right hand side, this is where you can configure your phone numbers. And so you can actually, you'll see all the numbers you own up here. You can purchase any number for $10 a month. And so in this case, I'm actually going to disconnect one of my other phone numbers and connect it here for the sake of purposes. So let's just do that right here. All right, and you can see, like we talked about in the video, the phone steps are always connected to the agent step. The agent step is what actually navigates and controls the audio over the phone. And so there's a few kind of like best practices we talked about before. So I usually don't I keep the skills in my agent to a minimum. Keeping these are pretty simple. I don't really need Lindy to press numbers in this example. I'm not going to need Lindy to be able to transfer in this example either. So I'm just going to keep the in call as the only skill I want in there. If you have like a personal phone assistant, what is super powerful is you can use the skills, and like you can give your agent as many skills as you want, and like if you know it's going to have latency and it's just going to be researching and doing things, you'll have no problem waiting. But when you're dealing with like external people using your phone agents, usually they expect it to behave like a person, and so you don't want to create too many skills or tool calls. So what I'm going to do here actually is what I want the behavior of this agent to be is I want it to be as helpful as possible, and I'm going to have an FAQ, and if it can answer within the scope, it's going to answer. If it cannot answer, it's just going to say I don't know. So we're not going to make anything up. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to add a step in between the call received and the agent step, and I'm going to use an add context step. Add context. I could also just use like a get documents, add context, things or anything like that. But once someone calls or received, it's going to hang up it's going to hang up once it gets to this step. But I want to quick pick up when people call. And the add context step is pretty rapid fire. And I actually have kind of a voice FAQ, Lindy voice agent FAQ, just for purposes here. So I'm going to add this guy here and save by clicking deploy. So what we have going on now is whenever someone calls this number, it's going to load all of the Lindy voice information into context and jump on the phone. And just like that. We're going to get back to the phone prompt in a minute. I think this is the one that people most get tripped up on. And there's a ton of freedom and tricks you can do to really squeeze the most out of your voice agents. But for this case, let's talk about what happens after the call. If you remember, for what we just talked about, is it's really helpful to log and do any post-call actions after the call ends. And so in this case, I always like keeping a call log because one, I know voice agents are an iterative process, and I want to see, if 50 calls come in, the exact outcomes, and I can adjust my prompts accordingly, see how things are going. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually open a Google Sheet. And in my Google Sheet, I'm going to create a new Google Sheet, just voice agent call log. I'm going to have a couple columns here. So you remember, Lindy always has the top column is the column, the top row interprets the columns within Lindy. So I'm going to add, let's just add date. Let's add, what else do you want to add? Caller called from. We have, what else do we have here? What else is important? Outcome. I think outcome is usually pretty helpful. We could check the whole transcript. We could just add a summary of the call. Why not? Let's just chuck the transcript in there. Just why not? Okay. So now that we have these things, I'm just going to go head back into my voice agent. And, actually, forgot an important one. Task URL. If you want to go back and actually listen to the call, task URL is the best way to do that. So we're going to do here, so we're going to head back to our phone agent, and now we're going to be on the after all call ends path. And I'm going to add a couple actions. First, I'm going to add an action a get task URL like this. This one has no inputs and outputs. If you remember, whenever in your task view on the left-hand side, each individual task has its own URL. And just by fetching the task URL, it lets you use this as a variable. And so you can one click go back and listen to calls and see the actual task history inside Lindy. And it just makes it easy to go between the spreadsheet and Lindy. So it's just a little bit convenient. And then let's add a step, a pinned row. This is going to be call voice agent call log. You can see sheet 1. Now we have all of our attributes here. Let's just go through each one. Auto. I like to prompt these just to take them off auto, just so I can kind of standardize the format. Auto is also pretty good, but just for best practice sake, let's just change the date from, let's do hour, minute, or day, month, year, hour, minute format, and just say the phone number of the caller, what was the outcome of the call between these 3 options. We'll say successful, caller was helped, unsuccessful, caller was not helped, or spam call. Was not a person. I don't know. It was spam. We can just leave it as spam. Just so as a glance, I can really see, hey, this call was successful, this call was unsuccessful. For outcomes, feel free to customize these as much as you want. Usually, whenever we're building agents for customers, we have these outcomes be much more focused based on the business and company context. But now when we head over to summary of the call, just going to give it some constraints, say 2 to 3 sentences. And then I'm going to log the transcript just for sake of collecting information. So if I actually head to the call received, we can go through and grab the transcript plain text output reference. And then we can also grab the task URL. So if I get over here, task URL, output, our logs look ready to go. Now, agent step. The prompting here is agent prompting can be a bit delicate. To be honest, what I would do if I were you is I'd look at the Lindy templates and find some example caller prompts, copy those into Lindy, Claude, ChatGPT, and then just kind of go back and forth and have the AI write a really good, strong call prompt. That's how I get started. But just going to go from Stract and show you guys some of the main principles here. I'm just going to first let the agent know it's on a call with a customer. You are on the call with a customer, and your goal is to be politely and concisely help them. Just give it a little bit of context. And I always it's good to give the agent some steps. So first, always introduce yourself. You are Lindy, you work at Lindy, and you are specifically a voice support agent. There we go. And then I want to also then say, after introducing yourself, pause for the caller's response, and then from then on, handle the conversation naturally, pausing when the caller speaks, and keeping the flow of conversation very natural and concise. I think I said some duplicates there, but that's okay. I'm just giving you a little bit of behavior. It's good to give a little bit of behavior of how to behave on the phone, just to make it a little bit of a stronger voice agent. And then I also want to let it know, a few more things, I don't want the agent to ever talk about anything outside of the context we provided, and so I don't want to mislead any customers. So I'm going to say, you are only allowed to answer questions within scope of the context, and if there's any questions that are out of scope, just simply respond with, I'm sorry I don't have the answer to that, but is there anything else I can help you with? Just giving it some kind of default behavior like that. So you can see how we're kind of prompting the voice agent's behavior. To be honest, this is not a very simple voice prompt. There are a lot more you can do to trick out this voice agent, but just for simplicity's sake, I want to show you guys how it's done. And say, if the caller indicates that it's time to end the call, you can use the always politely reply or politely say goodbye, and then use your end call skill. So it can also just let it know that. Some of our AI engineers, you can have a ton of fun with this, even down to prompting a lot of trees of behavior. If this happens, go here or say this, and like you can almost like create a whole logic tree, or like also using like phonetic spelling within the prompts is another a way to kind of squeeze more performance out of this. But like I said, I'm just gonna keep this simple for demo's sake. Copy these type of prompts, copy or ask ChatGPT, Claude, or Lindy to write you a phone prompt, and you'll get a better result. Or I guess this will work, but by a better result, I mean like a more robust, souped-up agent prompt. So what I'm going to do here is just rename some of this stuff for clarity. So I'm going to actually rename, this is add FAQ to context, get to us, and end row, and to call log. And then in this agent step, we're also going to have, what are we going to call this guy? I guess we can just keep this agent step. I'm just going to add exit condition too. Just let Lindy know once you are ready to hang up. That the agents can end the call. Need to action end call. And so very similar, like a very common use case here you can imagine is like, this is like a call routing agent, and then you have different exit conditions. And then within the exit conditions, you could have an exit condition to transfer the call. And then you could prompt, hey, here's my different numbers and when to transfer each one, things like that. But transfer call is also pretty useful. So okay, we have a pretty simple voice agent. It wasn't too hard to set up. Let's give it a call. So let's turn it on, click deploy, and now I'm going to look at this number, and I'm going to give it a call.
Hello, this is Lindy, and I'm a voice support agent here at Lindy. Thank you for calling us today. How can I help you?
Hi, I was actually just wondering how many languages you support on your voice agents.
Great question. Our voice agents support over 30 languages, and they can even switch between languages mid-conversation if needed. This makes them really flexible for businesses that serve diverse customer bases. Is there anything else you'd like to know about our voice agents?
Yeah, actually, do you have any prompting tips for voice agents? Like, how can I instruct them best?
I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that. Is there anything else I can help you with? I can tell you about our agents' capabilities, pricing, setup time, or other general features if that would be helpful.
No, that's it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for calling Lindy today. Have a great day.
All right, you can see there, Lindy answered the first question, and then there was no prompting tips in the FAQ, so it responded exactly how I was supposed to, saying, we can't help there. I will say whenever you're prompting voice agents, the best way to do it is honestly just test. So after you come to this stage, I would do 10, 20 calls and then document some of the edge case and try to encourage and push the agent to its boundaries, and then just update your learnings in your prompt, specifically with guidelines or different rules, and you can just keep adding and going there. And yeah, so that's the Lindy voice agent, and you guys are ready to go out and build your own. We definitely, at the time of filming this too, we have some exciting voice agents coming up pretty soon. So hope you enjoyed.